All right, so Twitter suspends Dr. Jordan Peterson for tweet about Elliot Page's trans sin. For those not familiar with Dr. Jordan Peterson, he is a clinical psychologist, former professor at Harvard University, and former uh, head of the psychology department at the University of Toronto. He's written several best-selling books, including Maps of Meaning and 12 Rules for Life. And I'm a big fan of Jordan Peterson, but what I think he did here was, in fact, disgusting. It was crude, and it was unnecessarily. Um, it targeted an individual's choice to undergo transgender therapy. Now, if we're going to have a debate regarding transgender issues, you are not going to help the debate by engaging in ad hominem attacks against, you know, people that are just, living their lives. They made a decision. They may not have been properly informed about the dangers of the surgery. You may disagree with their choice, but to single out an individual just leads to more emotional ad hominem attacks, attacks on individuals instead of discussing the issues, instead of having rational discussion and discourse, being able to sit across the table from someone you disagree with about transgender issues and having a productive productive discussion, a productive debate, or a productive dialectic with them. You know, all the discourse requires you to remain rational and logical, and this is unnecessarily provocative. So what he said was, "Remember when pride was a sin? Elliot Page just had her breast removed by a criminal physician." Now, it's important to understand that Jordan Peterson has made a lot of good arguments regarding the current policy of simply agreeing with children who report being of the opposite sex. Because in the past, transgender researchers found that anywhere from 65 to 94% of children who suffered from gender dysphoria eventually ceased to identify as transgender, typically after puberty, and in most cases, they discover that they are simply gay, which is no surprise to me because I know a lot of gay guys. I'm friends with a lot of gay guys, and they enjoy cross dressing on a regular basis. And when they were children, they would dress up in dresses and pretend to be girls. But that didn't mean they were girls. They were just confused about their sexuality because they didn't know the difference between being transgender, between being gay, between being bisexual. Um, so the issue is that the substantial majority of these young children that they're providing transition surgery to are going to grow up to find that they are not, in fact, the other sex, that the boys are not actually girls and the girls aren't actually boys. They're going to discover that they're simply actually gay. And this happens so often, so terrible. So many people undergo the surgery and then realize that it was a mistake later in life and then have to go and do a surgery to try to go back to the original sex, a second transgender surgery. And the surgery is highly dangerous. It's not good for your health. It's very hard on your body, and the mental health outcomes of those who undergo surgery versus those who don't. It's a very hotly debated issue. But I think when it comes to transitioning children, the argument against simply agreeing with whatever they say and then immediately beginning, hormonal treatment is pretty strong. I think it still requires more debate and discourse. I would like to see two people who are highly intelligent, well informed, and with plenty of evidence at their behest, documents with different studies right next to them, sit down and discuss the empirical evidence and discuss whether or not children should be able to undergo transgender surgery, or whether we should have a different policy, or whether we should have something that's in between where some children, under some circumstances, after years of therapy, with a neutral therapist who's trying to figure out the accurate nature of the child's sex and sexuality and sexual preferences uh, determines for a fact whether or not they're transgender or gay or maybe simply enjoy cross dressing, um, comes to a decision, you know. Um, and as for adults, we should discuss, okay, the statistics regarding for the people that are truly transgender. They're not confused about their identity. They know for certain they're not gay. They're not, you know, they're not just hyper feminine men or hyper masculine women. What is typically referred to as tomboys. Um, the people that are truly transgender, that have undergone the therapy, have clarified everything in their mind, and know for a fact that they are the other gender, okay, is it still worth it? If someone is truly transgender, they're not, you know, confused, they're not simply gay, they are in fact transgender, is the surgery worth it? Given the risk, given the long term damage to one's health, given the mental health outcomes that we've seen, given the studies, given the empirical data, and also, like, if an adult goes to a surgeon who does such therapy and asks for it, what amount of therapy should they undergo, and what protocols should be followed before providing that surgery to ensure that they are in fact of sound mind and are certain that they are in fact transgender? Like, what should be a good doctor's requirements? Like, every surgeon should make their own decisions regarding their policies, but if you're going to be a good transgender surgeon and ensure that the vast majority of the people that you give the surgery to have positive outcomes, what should you do to ensure that those who receive the surgery are those that would most benefit from it? So there's a lot to discuss here, but Jordan Peterson, of course, isn't doing the discussion, the discourse, the debate any favors by singling out a celebrity and who's a very nice girl, Elliot Page. She's a sweetheart. She was in Juno. Recently, she was in the Umbrella Academy, show on Netflix that's highly popular, which is sort of a parody of superhero films. Um, she has always dressed in boys' clothing for as long as I can remember. Never wore dresses, would always wear tuxes, would always wear men's clothes, never wore any female clothes. So, you know, why make the issue about her? Why make the issue about Elliot Page? If you have criticisms of transgender therapy, then don't make it about a celebrity. It doesn't. It's crude. It's shallow. It's hurtful, and the term disgusting. I read a headline saying Jordan Peterson's disgusting comment about Elliot Page. I think disgusting, that term is warranted in this case. Again, I'm a big fan of Dr. Jordan Peterson, but if you're a true fan, you know to think for yourself. You know that you don't idolize anyone, that no one's perfect, that everyone makes mistakes, and you should be willing to criticize your idols. I hate people who are like Trump supporters, but aren't willing to criticize Trump on anything. But, you know, I've talked to a lot of Trump supporters, and a lot of them are willing to criticize him on the things he did poorly, you know? But, you know, that's after, but not during his presidency. After he lost office, you know, whether through a truly, you know, accurate vote count or through, you know, voting irregularities and voting, you know, theft, whatever you might call it. You know, after the case, Trump fans were willing to criticize Trump, but when he was president, they would defend them on everything, which I think just discredits them, you know, and just makes them look like fools. And like people, and then, you know, there's a lot of people on the left who still won't criticize Obama. Like, you'll bring up all these issues, like all these countries he invaded, which were the countries that Donald Rumsfeld wanted him to invade. you know, and they still won't criticize Obama, even though, his number one private contributor was Goldman Sachs. That's the person that gave him the most money during his campaign was Goldman Sachs, number one private contributor. And then instead of sending them to prison for mortgage-backed securities fraud, and to the tune of billions of dollars that helped to collapse the economy back in 07, 08, the Goldman Sachs execs were never charged. In fact, they got bonuses during the recession of 07, 08. If you idolize people, if you make them into like godlike figures, if you have this cult of personality around them where you're basically like a cult member worshiping them and think they can do no wrong, there's something seriously wrong with you. Everybody has faults. Everybody has flaws. Everybody has things that they do incorrectly at times. No one is perfect. And if you want to believe there's a person on this earth that's perfect, then you have mental health issues. You should see a therapist, because you're not thinking rationally, and it's just, you're not doing that person any favors. You're not doing yourself any favors. So anyway, that's all I have to say for today. I hope that others who are also fans of Jordan Peterson share my view that this tweet was not well thought out. It wasn't conducive to rational and productive dialogue, and I'll be improving the quality of these videos in the near future. I'll be setting up a podcast studio soon. It's going to be like a $3,000 investment, and I will be preparing speeches beforehand instead of just going off the cuff. So please subscribe. Please leave a comment below. Please hit the notifications bell. I may be switching to a new channel soon. Start over fresh. Because I think I'm shadow banned on here, on YouTube, and on various other platforms. But yeah, thank you for listening, and please connect with me. I'll leave my contact information as well. You can add me on Facebook, Instagram, various other social media. If you want to contact me, if you want to be a guest on the podcast and have a discussion or debate with me, if you're highly intelligent, well educated about issues, or if you just want to talk about something important to you, you can also follow me on Clubhouse. I'll be doing regular discussions on podcast, regular discussions on Clubhouse as well. But that's all. Sorry, I'm rambling now. Thank you for watching this. I'll make a better video shortly that's more concise, more well thought out, and of higher quality.